Using a pseudonym, I drew my own blood, donated it, and tracked changes to understand both theory and practice, observing how medications affect results. Therefore, I became an experimenter. Yes, but for the sake of knowledge, so that later I could write a book and know from the inside what happens. And not just theoretically, you don't learn everything just from a book. Subtitles by AuthorWave.
For your career?
Huh? How did you get this job? I took too much Trenbolone and started coughing badly. Thought I'd die. After that, I refused to be a beta male. I avoided mirrors, felt too embarrassed to flirt or approach girls, and even dreaded going to the beach. That's how the Adonis complex affects you. The guy with the beer belly at the beach doesn't have these worries. He doesn't care about his body shape or the Adonis complex. It's the perfectionist who has that. They take a hit, say stop, then swim. Yet they hypocritically treat alcoholics who knowingly destroy their livers and even operate on them, as well as chain smokers who damage their lungs and receive surgery too. If you took the Hippocratic oath to help, stop being hypocritical and blaming others. Help the person you see as marginal too. He said he wants to use dope, but you can't be careless. I know, and others like the police might see you. They stopped me once, told me to roll down my window, and I got worried, thinking I'd done something wrong. Tell me a bit about our exams, and then you can tell me whatever you want. We're here.
Welcome to MuscleTalk. My name is Ftakles Konstantinos. I am the founder of ShapeStar, and my guest today combines medicine with sports. Today with us is Mr. Giorgos Touliatos. He is a biopathologist, bodybuilder, author, and widely known as Dr. Testosterone. Mr. Giorgos, thank you. It's an honor to do this episode.
Hello, Kostas. You finally came. An interview day then, it was something I was also waiting for this past year, as I kept seeing all the time. You've been interviewing so many well-known people, so I'm happy to answer the audience's questions in my own space.
I've seen all of bodybuilding.
Yes, it's all spectacular, and whatever you move, you do it live in person, which is definitely better.
I've seen everything, and I think you're the center of attention, aren't you?
I'm in a different category now, especially with my work abroad in America. I finished in 2013. My competitive career ended, and since then I've been in a position close to bodybuilding as a doctor, overseeing the athlete's health.
So, Mr. Giorgos, I want us to go back in time a bit. Tell me, as a child, did you always want to be involved with science, with medicine?
Look, I come from a conservative medical family. My father was a pediatrician, my mother was a dentist, my sister became a pediatrician, my father's brother was an orthopedic doctor, my godmother was a microbiologist, and my cousin was a gynecologist. Yes, it was the only path. I also wanted to follow the medical tradition, but I was the only one out of the two. Both my parents' families and my father were obsessed with sports. Because it wasn't just the gym that I started at 16 with inter-school competitions in sprints, mainly in long jump. That's where I really stood out, right? And then when I went abroad to study, I got into the gym more systematically because I had my first buzz cut at 16. In college, I did some weight training, then trained daily during pre-med at 18 in 1991. There in Budapest, they had them. Posters of Ton Platz, Lichenis, and Arnold. Of course, that's when I started lifting weights without knowing much about nutrition, right? And gradually I developed naturally. And when I came to Greece after 1995 to continue my studies in Ioannina and Athens, I was working out at the gym then. So in 1997 at 24, I started taking protein, creatine, and vitamins, amino acids too, up until 1999, which was a turning point. Why am I doing rural service in Kefalonia? At that time, I was working as a doctor and had about 300,000 drachmas, my first money. One was with a local team that played matches in the Delta Ethniki to get promoted to the first division. And I had to remember 10,000 drachmas per game. And I was saving all that to do my hobby, which was weightlifting. I also had cycling, swimming, and running, so I was spinning around all day. That's when I decided to improve my body. And the next summer, in 2000, I aimed to compete in a national bodybuilding championship in fitness.
Mr. Giorgos, have you always looked like this?
Of course, yes. Until I started taking supplements, my body matched my height and weight like a 7, meaning 75757. Well, you could say a dancer's body, I don't know, like a model type, slim, but I did a bit of modeling too, so I had a body, like Ruvas or DiCaprio, meaning slim and fit. Well, now, when I had to compete, I did a bit of basic doping. Not even 3 months, that's a lie, not even 3 months, just about a month and a half. And I took some specific drugs selectively. I remember the Spanish one, the Jamin, the Winstrol, the Greek one, the Primo, the Greek testosterone, some Aristan, the Bulgarian one, the clenbuterol, and the Spanish ephedrine that were available in Greece. So I remember I went down to 80.7 kilos, and it was painful because I didn't make it into the top 6 in fitness. All right, then I went back to the island and I got stubborn and said, is that how it is? I'll do it like everyone else, with proper preparation. My first mentor, whom I still talk to, will you mention him if I ask? He's a self-taught man, now close to 60, who had tried all the genuine substances back then and saw my talent. Of course, there's trouble. Why talk? Money makes people speak. I told him we want to do this right. And I remember I was clenching my teeth really hard. I was obsessed, to tell you the truth. My priorities were my body, girls, and medicine. I mean, yeah, I was obsessed. I said, I want to become a pro athlete and also be a doctor, so why not connect the two one day? I want to become a doctor from bodybuilding after I finish. It was like Schwarzenegger. I had that vision inside me, so I reach an outrageous shape. 4,178 kilos.
We're talking about the first match.
For the second one, not for the second, the third. Because there was a Grand Prix that I won between the first and third race at SCV subtitles, and I was better than those who had beaten me in my first race. I was on another level. They wanted me at the Balkan Championship, but at that time I was earning money with my body as a model. I had refused to go up to Thessaloniki to compete in the Balkan Championship, which was won by the second place finisher, the one who won, meaning I would have also won the Balkan Championship. Anyway, I was really good, but I was in the fitness category. Maybe if things had developed later, because there was a huge pause. 9 years for medicine. If I'd done classic, you get me? So I was always into sports, right? Running, cycling, swimming.
Mr. Giorgos, were you scared when you were ill?
Yes, let me explain that to you, because I was asked the same question when I appeared on television 10 years ago. The fact that I came from a medical family gave me more empathy to look into myself and my conditions. Of course, that didn't mean I was safe. You need health, but also passion. I felt divided. Yes, there's theory about this, but many doctors still drink, use substances, smoke, and act hypocritically. I wanted to stand out, and that's where things went off track. But I always said I'd get checkups and take precautions. I mean, yes, they might take steroids, but they won't do drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, bad diet, and they'll do cardio, and we're on the right track.
You knew you'd get addicted? Did you know that dependence would happen?
I was addicted both to my image and to substances, and I've said in my self-criticism that I couldn't accept it afterwards. I would have been a total mess. I wouldn't look in the mirror, wouldn't feel like flirting, and would be ashamed to undress in front of a girl. That was the case until I went to the beach, because that's what insecurity does. The muscular guy doesn't have these worries, nor does the fat guy with the beer in his hand. At the beach, physical imperfections don't matter, and only perfectionists feel insecure. So anyway, I did it in a healthier way, but that doesn't mean I got away with everything either.
How did you learn about these drugs? Were they in the medical textbooks?
No, those were very advanced. When it comes to drugs or biochemistry, there's a problem. Steroid hormones? Almost nothing, just sparse details that sometimes cause problems. Now, the final confusion, I'm in the preface after writing a chapter. It was published in 10 editions since 2000, and my first mentor read it. There was also Dan Duchesne back then, the great guru, the self-taught one, and those were the first writings. Also, the American Muscle Mag for Muscle Development had a special column about drugs. And of course, my mentor had passed all this knowledge on, and so did I. I used to hide in the bathroom under my alias. I used to draw my own blood, give it, and observe the changes to understand both the theory and practice, how the drugs affect things. So I became an experimenter, yes, but for the sake of knowledge, so that later I could write a book and know from the inside what happens. You can't learn these things just from a book. It's not just theoretical. When I had 2 cats in Greece.
But did you take risks for your career?
How did you avoid risk working here? I once took too much trenbolone, started coughing uncontrollably, and thought they'd find me dead. I turned on the fan and stood in front of it because I was sweating. No, it caused a bad cough. Why does Tren do that? I turned on the fan and thought I was going to die. I had gone from 200 to 300 ml in one dose, also with the same compound. I had such a bad headache one night that I slept in the armchair because I couldn't lie down due to the pressure. Okay, the nerves were affected, and not just by trenbolone and the high androgens. In my self-criticism, I admitted to fighting, misunderstanding, and ruining relationships. I disappointed my parents. Mistakes happened, but that doesn't mean everyone will experience it. That's often misunderstood. Ray trades can make you act aggressively, but what does it really do? Does it just amplify the feelings you already have? I mean, if you're a beep, does it make you twice the beep? Others are calmer and more self-controlled.
Also, I want to ask you something that just came to my mind. All these years, with so many incidents you've had, every day we see the videos you upload. It's basically like you've done research. Have you come up with anything? Like, if this happens, then that will happen to you. I mean, do you kind of know the outcome?
Yes, statistically there are 3 main changes involving the cardiovascular system, liver, and kidneys. Is that so?
While things that haven't been written yet, have you seen them? I mean, things that could be created, but scientists haven't written about them yet. Let's say, in a moment of inspiration. Go away, little one.
You're talking about steroids, right?
Yeah, you? With so many cases, has he ever done something he hasn't?
That isn't in the literature? Yes.
So many cases?
No, but it confirms what we already know from cases. That's it. Anabolic steroid use is a separate hypogonadism category, which medicine may overlook since it doesn't address it. With athletes, and basically few athletes turn to doctors. They can't trust them. I am one of them, having faced the same struggles, and I want their trust. I'm here to fix their mistakes so they don't repeat mine. Using anabolic steroids is a separate category. As everyone becomes dependent, so many cases of treatment-resistant depression come from these users. But that's not safe, since bodybuilding isn't the only addiction. Others have chaotic lives and are spiraling down, often due to testosterone for various reasons. But it's certain that the use of androgens will do that even in medicine. This is not very well known. Doctors may be wrong, but stopping them could be fatal, like cutting off your androgens. Testosterone replacement therapy helps bridge the gap between using anabolic steroids and quitting them. Testosteronis, which is hypogonadism, so by taking testosterone you stay healthy, which also brings anti-aging. You just cut out all the steroids that harm the main organs.
The body doesn't recognize the other steroids.
They are synthetic testosterone agents, but you should know that all of them were made by doctors to fight diseases, cachexia, meaning the wasting caused by cancer, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, even COVID, weak bones, anemia. Okay, these are the 3 main diseases that all of them can fight. Also, wounds, scars, and burns, for example. Anabolics can heal them because they essentially build tissues. And as the tissue builds, it closes up. That's it then. And of course, testosterone, which is for those who don't have testosterone, but unfortunately, anabolics are not preferred by doctors. They're on the bottom shelf and not in their arsenal. Why is there a bad reputation? Is it the fear that comes from ignorance? And that's part of it too. If you give testosterone or androgens, how can you sell costly erythropoietin? Testosterone combats metabolic syndrome, obesity, and diabetes. If TRP gets testosterone, how will Mounjaro and Zepbound be sold? You understand the interest behind it? The bad reputation of androgens comes from misuse. But that's not all. Testosterone is an androgen. You should know, it distinguishes men from women.
But can I tell you something? Are you now going against such big markets?
Listen, am I opposing them? Aren't you scared of threats? Listen to me, I just say things as they are. So I'm saying, should doctors use steroids along with the others? Why do we have 2 in 1? Why can't you have a healthy weight without testosterone? For what reason? Does low testosterone cause low energy? Even if you give them glucagon-like peptide, 1 and put them on peak Trulicity. These increase your appetite but reduce food, and with low testosterone, 150-200, you lack the energy and motivation to get up, so it doesn't help. Plus, without testosterone and appetite, you lose muscle mass. They need to realize it's two issues in one and adjust their approach. The dose is very high for us, so it shouldn't be overused.
Why are the doctors so against it?
Is it ignorance or a belief they're preventing harm? An anabolic, basically an androgen. Can I say something? Do lesbians seeking to become men use testosterone for its androgenic and anabolic effects? Because it has androgenic and anabolic properties also. So does a man age because his testosterone drops? Is that undeniable? Okay. And does testosterone replacement therapy have anything to do with anti-aging? Like, for example, when you take thyroid hormone, you fix your metabolism, but before erythropoietin was made, androgens were given, they gave a manly boost to anemia. Now androgen may cost 20 euros and erythropoietin 200 euros. Do you understand? Also, anabolic steroids are now out of fashion in medicine. Now, if someone comes and is completely wasted from COVID or is a cancer patient, they might consider it, but not with so much enthusiasm. Let's be honest, these things weren't invented by scientists or doctors. I've experienced anabolic steroids myself and I know how they work, just like I know about endogenous ones. I only learn about the others from books, and there's still a bad perception.
Can I ask now, after everything you've done, did some doctors agree together?
My child, I have patients who are doctors. One of them wants to go to Mykonos. A plastic surgeon with a six-pack tells me how he'll safely do a cycle. It's acceptable as long as you're not breaking the law, and use is not prosecuted in Greece. What is prosecuted is illegal trafficking. Luckily, in our poor little Greece, we could and still can. Why have some medicines been discontinued? Can you go into a pharmacy and ask for this? Only narcotics and diuretics are controlled medicines needing a prescription. There is a loose system, and you could get testosterone ampules, even up to 10 until 2 years ago, without a prescription, in a moderate, acceptable amount. That's why Greece was a paradise for steroids. 25 years ago, Americans would come here on vacation, fill up a duffel bag, and push them in America for 10 times the price. You get it? The same thing happens in Turkey, Bulgaria, Mexico, in countries that are more relaxed, while in the European Union. You can't get testosterone without a doctor's prescription in England or America. To bulk up, you need a doctor's prescription, which is only given for medical reasons. That's why we all end up going underground. Right? Because it's a controlled drug, but unfortunately medicine has sidelined it, has forgotten about it. But do doctors still have opinions about it, about anabolic steroids? We were looking. They treat diseases. I gave my grandmother Deca for 2 years and she reached 106 without breaking bones, anemia, or cachexia. I remember after my grandmother's first Deca dose, she drank water from a glass, and after that we had to give her water by spoon. So, with my sister, who is a pediatrician, we set aside all those medical protocols, those guys with the ties, and we said, we're going to do this here. These drugs are intended for elderly people like her, not for building big biceps. There are indications for that too, but only 1 Deca every 2 weeks. It was life-saving for my grandmother. So, what if it gave her a little mustache? What's the big deal? I mean, it worked wonders, and when I mentioned it in America, they praised me for it. Who would do that in Greece? They only give those milk truck supplements to seniors.
Yeah, my grandmother, for example, has fallen twice and broken both her hips.
If an old person falls down, they'll get mobilized, and the countdown will begin. You understand? So?
Mr. Giorgos, first I want you to tell me, when you started your studies, why? Biopathologist?
Listen, that's a good question. I was passionate about anatomy because I was passionate about gymnastics. I really liked myology. Where does a muscle start? Where does it end? How does it work during an exercise? I excelled in anatomy, was a professor's assistant, examined students, and placed in 2 anatomy competitions. I told myself I wanted to take over my uncle's job as an orthopedic doctor. He was my father's brother and an assistant professor in Ioannina in Athens. But he put me in the operating room and told me that it's brutal. He said, since you also want to have some free time, you should take your aunt's doctor's job. My aunt had a completely different job and specialty than I do today. I'm not a microbiologist because I did 1 year of pathology at the hospital, and that gives me the ability to read and evaluate tests like a clinical pathologist. So essentially, you do pathology of biological fluids and from all biological fluids. I focused on blood, that's what I know well. And where exactly? In this? Does he want to enhance it? Doping? What should I look out for? The tests that are called risk reduction in America. And because I know it from experience, to examine the andrological profile and hormonal restoration in middle-aged men. This is for aging, however, by law I can't prescribe but can offer expertise, because I'm the only Greek doctor who applies theory in practice. I've used all the main protocols, know how they work, and can advise, read, and evaluate tests. But only in this field I can't say that I have expertise in other systems. I don't have experience with thyroid, adrenal glands, or diabetes, just in that area. So now, through pathology, the need arose to monitor the tests of those who use, so we can check the vital organs. I focused on the heart, which gave me this monopoly, to be the only Greek doctor who deals with bodybuilders. I mean, taking drugs is easy, but telling someone how to avoid the risk, that's the real skill, how to come out unscathed. And there aren't many doctors who can talk to a bodybuilder. They demonize him, set boundaries, and tell him to leave. Or, nevertheless, hypocritically, they treat the alcoholic who consciously destroys his liver and even operate on him, or the chain smoker who burns his lungs and they also operate on him. But if you have sworn the Hippocratic Oath to help, you must now stop being hypocritical and pointing fingers and help the other person too, the one you consider marginal. But he chose to dope for his own reasons, either because he's a bodyguard, or because he's an artist, or because he's, I don't know, a weightlifter or whatever, or for his own reasons, to have self-confidence. Do I need to explain why I want to take dope? Can you help me be healthier since you took an oath? If not, step aside for someone who can. Few doctors want to get involved since they know little about it. It requires knowledge of diagnostics, pathology, cardiology, endocrinology, pharmacokinetics, and above all, how can you discuss these drugs if you haven't tried them yourself? It's a unique combination. Kettler and I were together in Athens in 2016 after he came from the bodybuilding club. And he was asked a question and he said, if you go strictly by the book, you miss half the truth. Is it necessary to be self-taught without a scientific background? Being self-taught means missing half the knowledge. Having both together is unbeatable. So in the end, biopathology turned out to be good for me because it helped me consolidate it in the field I wanted.
Why didn't you consider getting involved with it when you were younger?
Not even me. I wanted to be an anatomist or a surgeon orthopedist, but if I became an orthopedist, I'd be opening legs and arms. What does that have to do with bodybuilding besides the injuries? But through the exams, you can tell someone how to do maintenance so that the machine is the best, well-oiled and productive. Regarding testosterone replacement therapy, my job is to read numbers, and I've reviewed thousands of tests over the past decade to see how the blood markers respond in someone who takes testosterone or someone who has a problem.
Have you now gotten your degree and your specialty?
I have finished my specialty, but I have written these books that are about bodybuilding and, how do you say, they also include medical data and prevention. I've attended many conferences.
Did you consider pursuing a doctoral degree?
This usually happens at a younger age, after the duration of the specialization.
Otherwise, did you just start working in 2014 when you began?
Yes, I built my clientele from scratch, right here. My predecessor, my aunt, was dealing with the elderly, older people and so on, with urine and feces.
Now they're all young.
Not just alone and middle-aged. I want to tell you, from scratch. I started in 2014, I started with bodybuilding and slowly built up based on that profile. But now I see that the biggest market comes from people who are concerned about how they live, about their testosterone, about their test results. Honestly, bodybuilding is just 1% of society. I may have a supplement store, but who will come and what else? Unfortunately, many competitors don't want to expose themselves as having issues. That's right. I have 10 good names who visited me, but they still keep it to themselves out of pride. They don't want to show that they have a problem or that they will learn from you. Exactly. Thousands have bought my books and can learn everything I know from them. That's right, because the purpose is for this to be passed on and to become something better, for people to benefit from my work and after me.
Can you share how hard it was to write your first book?
Then, so I had it in my mind.
When did that happen? At first?
In 12, finishing my specialty, I had an acquaintance, a publisher, but she wasn't the typical publisher who makes sports books anyway. I remember I came back from a trip to Rome, and I had said that I would sit down and write all these things that I was slowly building on Facebook. And I would say that this would have both the scientific knowledge and the experiential part. Therefore, it was based on the triptych: nutrition, exercise, and medicine. This book, it cost 3,000 euros to print, which I couldn't afford. Can you imagine? My sister regretted it, and I promised her that one day I would pay her back. As soon as the book sold out, which it did within a year.
How much did you get? How many books did you buy?
For 1,000 books, the cost was 3,000 euros. I think I made about 3,500. And you should know that from each book, the author receives 15 to 20% of its price.
Can you imagine?
Is the publisher Snavanzis.
So what did you get? Nothing?
I paid my expenses, gave some to my sister, and told her to take it. Then the second book was published, given as a gift by the publisher, just like the reprint and the first book. I remember it was 120 pages, then 250, then 400, and the fourth was 570 pages. And then I started translating, and I wanted to take the gamble for abroad to see if I could make it. So he published another 4 books to translate there as well, and in the end it worked. And I had a good income, but I got tired. I remember it was New Year's Eve. I was lost in translation while others were having fun, but I knew that the next summer you would start selling, earning exactly, you know? It's not easy. Huh? The Greek Bible really has everything in it, but then the Bible was also published in 2 English versions. First, I released the medicines, but when more advanced ones appeared, I decided not to include them. During the early COVID lockdowns, when we had lots of time at home, I decided to sit down and translate the nutrition, exercise, and supplements. I published 1 book, then decided to combine everything. Later, I released a second book that included audience questions from my show in America. Also, all my articles. In Master Development, which is about 55 monthly columns, meaning almost 5 consecutive years, they come from fragments, chopped up. So what you see here is my book in articles in paragraphs.
Mr. Giorgos, many people say, I've heard that you deal with nutrition and training, but are you a doctor in this field? What do you have to say? I mean, why are you involved?
Because first of all, I am a doctor who knows biochemistry, which others don't, and physiology. No, I didn't say no about myself. I'm just answering that I'm not like the others, but I'm not, to begin with, the typical doctor who doesn't know how to eat, even though in medical school we were taught very little about these things. But I know.
You don't make programs, but do you sell them?
But my book has embedding programs, not this one. I know the basics and have tried them myself. Why do they say it with bad intent? Is it because I'm competitive about exercise? Like Spatini, my mentor was Mr. Italia, so I know about exercise from both physiological and psychological perspectives. And in the end, I'm the average guy they talk about down there. That's right. Winning a championship, being seen as the top talent at fitness, and competing in 11 races put me in a unique category. I wasn't a careerist, just having fun, so you can't say I lacked skill. In Greece, people think they know everything, but results are what matter. I wouldn't have sold 5,000 books if I thought they were bad. Anyway, that's what I have to say, that I'm something different from Bilger, I'm something different from a doctor, and I'm also something different from a writer. Do you understand? It's all 3 together, but you can't say he doesn't know what he's doing. There are other excellent doctors in America with this triad of illness.
Mr. Giorgos, could you share some experiences or incidents from your work with patients?
About what?
On anabolic steroids, like if mistakes were made?
That there are wrong combinations. There's also the other thing, the mistake even in the name restoration, that someone smokes, which is completely irresponsible. And then they come crying. My hematocrit is 62. You deserve it. I can't mix these 2 things. Some people eat junk food, resulting in bad lipids that clog arteries. If you want to use steroids, you need to eat clean, avoid junk, and stick to healthy food. Mama Kefalianos used to eat only rice, steak, and things like that at taverns. And the man still hasn't had a heart attack and never smoked in his life. And he's 55 years old. Anyway,
Do you have these every day?
Not so much anymore with the steroids, but there have also been insect abscesses. I got it too because I made the mistake of going to a brand that wasn't official, and it had bacteria inside, so I had to have an abscess drained there. During my residency, I wrote that chapter in an ampulipsy. They cut me open here and did surgery under sedation, which also damaged my tattoo, so it was a bad experience for me.
I've heard that in fake ones, they put a lot of oil and water.
Yes, water-based steroids have bacteria because bacteria can't survive in oil. I injected bacteria into myself and the area became hot, swollen, and produced yellow pus.
You can see it from...
Nothing? They're contaminated from inside you.
Did you test or see them afterward?
No, but it was a cheap Greek brand. Back then I left Mercedes for Lada and I don't even know why. Wasn't there another option? I don't know.
Mr. Giorgos, I'll also ask you some questions about future plans. Are you thinking about opening your own clinic?
No, I collaborate with IASO in the past with Orthobiotiki and with a clinic for plastic surgery in Chalandri, but not my own. I have my job here. That's right.
Let's say, I don't know if that's possible now, but I'm just asking. For example, testosterone? What are the factors? I mean, are there companies, different ones?
Pharmacies, Greek testosterone, Norma's, has it arrived? Norma is here. He said in Greece we use the box, that's how it's done. In Italy, don't they have technology?
Could you possibly create your own brand someday?
Listen, let me tell you.
Because they'll sell a lot.
In the past year, testosterone had a rapid increase. It went up 3 times a lot. I have said that there are 2 reasons. The first is because whatever sells in the market becomes more expensive. When demand goes up, its price goes up too. It's called exploitation. The second is conspiratorial. They made testo so expensive that the average Greek couldn't afford it, so he would be in bad shape. He can't get it because now it costs 70 euros a month. Thank you. Gain weight, get sick, face complications, take more meds, and beg doctors for a prescription, only to still not get it, even though it used to be cheap and easy to get. For your information, this doesn't benefit the system either, since if you're healthy, doctors and pharmaceutical companies don't profit. Anyway, this happened because I made a huge... For the last 5 years, I gave a huge update, and now the average Greek, even outside the gym, became interested in his testosterone. So, do you understand? The demand for it increased. They say, we'll make it more expensive so you won't get it because it's good for you and that's not good for us. This might not be true, it's just my perception, but I personally believe that worldwide there's an agenda against testosterone. They don't want men to be men so they can be submissive both mentally and physically, and to give him medication for erection, for depression, for diabetes. In America, a lesbian who identifies as a man can get the same treatment to become a man and grow hair after just a 10-minute interview. This is the woke agenda, a man pleading for testosterone to have sex with his wife. Will you get it, the married man? Well, I contacted the security team of a well-known Greek businessman who owns a pharmaceutical company. They knew me from the gym. They called and said they want to meet me somewhere to approach me. All right. We know that if a product is released at a lower price, I'll choose that one. And if I say, how do you say it? I have a lot of people listening, but in the end, if you come out with one that's 9 euros instead of 18, I think people will buy it. Indeed, they passed it on, but that meeting didn't work out because he had a lot of obligations with his other activities. But the company called me and told me, unfortunately, we don't have the expertise to make tests. So you see that there is infrastructure. That's why this standard says you put the paper and the ampule comes from Italy. I understand it still needs infrastructure, though. Creams in Greece are made by pharmacies per production, meaning by order. Sorry. That is galenic preparations, which are like others produced by pharmaceutical companies, but they are under construction. The personal pharmacists. It concerns the creams. Otherwise, in Greece, there are 2 injections, the initial and the fast one, the slow one, the German one, which lasts 2 to 3 months, and the fast one, the quicker one. Probably the Greek one, which is weekly, and there's also the cream, but the clinics I have, probably the orthopedic clinic. He was cooperating with these 3 pharmacies, and the Greek patient could get testosterone, but without. Apart from prescribing, the prescription only concerns IOF preparations, and now someone can also get their cream. Let's say ignoring the 2 injectables, and if he has money to pay for it, and get his job done and the cream works. So, it's not that you can. Do you have the power to get to the point of doing your own? No, baby, this has a scene. Only for supplements? Yes, a doctor can patent a supplement formula as Dr. Ochi's. Haven't you considered it? I have. That. First of all, it's a bit of a panic, let me tell you. Steve Blackman, the one who had Twin Law from the biggest supplement company in the world and then the Moscow development that brought out Dr. T. He says, make something for me and promote it in Greece. I say, I have the formulas. I have 10 formulas with 6 ingredients each in my mind. I have 60 ingredients for 10 different formulas. I'm excited to sell the know-how. He says to add the 2 most marketable ones. I mention heart and liver, but from the formula written on paper to it becoming a box on the shelf, there's a distance. Light request, do you want to apply to the NFTA in America? It's not just about the money, it's about getting a license, approval, finding a catchy name here in Greece. I had thought about making this official. There are 2 pharmacies that sell a formula, which I have developed in relation to the liver and lipids. That's right, but you have to. In order for it to become an official preparation, you have to do something like that at the end of file, so that it becomes competitive and can compete with similar products that are already on the shelves, even from India. Officially, a businessman had approached Arnold in 2020 who had suggested we launch this, but then COVID came and it didn't stop me. My initial plan was to work with a French supplement company and have Dr. T say he approves this formula that I am. He approves it for the liver, for the heart, for immunity, waking, sleeping, and boosting testosterone. You understand? For stress.
Mr. Giorgos, does your job give you life?
Yes.
Do you think you'll keep doing this in the future?
Will you still be doing this at 60? Yes, as long as God gives me years.
You won't stop.
I don't intend to. I hope to live for my child. But even at 70, I'll work during the holidays. I work on the phone.
You don't stop that?
What do you mean? Not even in America? I was working, even on the plane. I can't stop. So many people need help, and I have to answer. That's my responsibility. Unfortunately, but also fortunately, I have a monopoly and people trust me in an area with no competition. And a lot of people ask me, why don't you keep people? Why? I have a legacy, so anyone interested can just read my books. There's no joy in training someone.
Isn't that about difficulty?
No, but regarding doping. There are some doctors who in Greece, younger than me, who are involved with this subject. Maybe in terms of prevention or post-cycle therapy, but they themselves don't have what I have, the experiential knowledge. They haven't used steroids or testosterone, so they follow the rules. But it's hopeful, because I believe that I will go down in history as the man who spoke up and destigmatized steroids and testosterone. He addressed taboo topics other doctors avoided out of fear and ignorance.
So, is that it then? You don't do your job for the money?
Come on, you have a reason to provide for your family, right? Right? Because now me, okay?
Now, it's not just about feeding them, it's about the property. Now.
Man, I've reached 52 years old. Can we all say, have they done anything? To put things aside, to live their lives. All right? But I'm not like those who talk about people in their 30s. I want to tell you that I started freelancing at 40. It took me a while to find what suits me and what I like. There are also younger doctors than me who charge high fees and have made fortunes. Well, of course, the money too, because I basically studied to have a better life, even though it took a while for that to happen.
Thank you.
I faced many hardships and criticism in bodybuilding and online. It didn't bring me down, but made me more determined, though it did affect and disappoint me. The internet is generally chaotic.
Let me ask you, in general, all these years, did you have good relationships with your parents, with your relatives?
Look, my father didn't get to see me where I am today. He passed away when I had written my first book. He heard me a little on the radio being introduced, and he managed to see that. I gave speeches in Imperia and Thessaloniki. At his funeral, I wrote a letter, placed it in his jacket, and promised him I would become the best in my field. When my mother passed away, she had already seen me succeed and moved to America. That's it, but my parents never pictured me in a swimsuit or handling this. They saw me as the classic doctor with the white coat and expected me to become a surgeon, just like my brothers who were top students and had doctorates. I just started to find myself and discovered what I liked. And I do what I love and I love what I do, and I even see it as a hobby. I now only focus on my specialty. I no longer do microbiology or examine urine or stool. I have basic knowledge, but I stick to what I know best. Many doctors trust me with their testosterone health, so I can help them. So, in terms of knowledge, but I believe that if I worked in hospitals, I would be an unhappy doctor. I can't easily work with people, I'm not an easy character, and here I do what suits me.
So, I think you recently became a father.
Yes, a year ago, so...
Why did you want to start a family?
I've always wanted this, since I expected to become a father earlier, but it didn't happen. And I had said that I was getting close to 50, I was 48, 49, and I thought, if I don't become a dad by 50, I'll just stay a playboy. Me, personally. But I said, if that moment doesn't come, then don't chase it afterwards, because it becomes ridiculous. And I'm in favor of everything happening in its own time. I think children should have young parents so they can keep up with them for years. When you're young, you may not have much money, but later you have less energy and excitement. You can't have it all.
Were you? I was a flirt.
I had that, but I wasn't really into relationships. I didn't have steady relationships. Anyway, I met my wife. In 2022, online. Okay, let's do it. Based on something I had written on Medium, she liked it, and then I continued.
Me and her, the session one? Yes.
No, but she was into sports. She had supplements, powders, and pills at home. She was really fit for a while, Giorgos, really. Yeah, so? Well, we moved on. I told her I have a purpose now. I don't want you to be just another lover. I want to start a family. Of course, I wasn't chasing after having a child. I mean, we didn't make a plan, we just went with it. Very few attempts, which you could call accidental or pointless, without actually saying that I'm going to have a child on purpose. I got pregnant, I kept it.
Aren't you getting that treatment?
My child? I did the treatment and kept testing, taking chorionic modropin to prevent loss. My pregnancy went well, and that's my point. To those claiming you'll become sterile, they don't understand.
So, is it possible to recover at some point?
Can you preserve your fertility like that with hormonal modulation then? My wife was 32 years old, she was fertile, and the child came.
So, were you more afraid that you would have a generation gap with the child?
So that's what I was saying, and I believe it's true, because my niece, who is 15 years old, could also have been my daughter. What you mentioned exists, but I'm not showing it now. 52, why do we keep up well? The thing is, though, that there have been many days when I've been tired too, and I know that even if I reach my limit, I won't have as many years as if I'd had this child 10 to 20 years ago. That's just life. What can we do? We can't refuse this miracle.
When you became a father, were you afraid that now, with your job, you would miss the years that your child would grow up and you wouldn't see them?
Ever since meeting my wife, my workload grew. She asked, "Have you lost yourself?" I'm out getting necessities. So in the end, which one do you want? You can't have both and say that material things aren't enough. In the end, I'm trying to. It's exhausting to come home tired and still handle things and make time to train. I set up a home gym, but don't have the energy to train daily anymore. I still hurt even with all the injections and pills I used to take. That's why you see that it takes up a huge amount, not just of time, but of energy too, a lot. When you're alone, just doing your own thing, you go around, you don't have to deal with anyone, but it's very selfish, and in the end, you ask yourself, what's going to come of this? Right?
Do you want your child to be a doctor?
No, but if they chose to, I would really like that. Personally, though, I don't know if I would become a doctor again because I went through a lot of difficulties. Yes, what I have achieved today is good, but maybe I would have wanted to become a gym teacher, an athlete, something else, a journalist. I don't know what, because this process was very painful. I was justified, but maybe something else could win me over. An actor, I don't know. Also, I would really like my daughter to get involved with the gym. Of course, the steroids are a different category, but I would like her to get into proper nutrition and be very much like that, fit and active.
Since you mentioned daughter and women now, in general, when drugs are involved, isn't it a bit bad?
Really? Indeed, for me, a woman is the symbol of beauty. Nevertheless, I have met a very muscular one. Let me say, it depends on each person, but I met Bonnie Gambrandt, an amazing woman, in 1953-1954, and she has won every award.
What there is.
Not necessarily because she did fitness, but she is amazing and does harmonic restoration with hormonal tests. She told me that. What is her treatment? So, she's still very feminine, like Coriverson, whom I saw recently. She's a well-preserved 60-year-old, or like Lenta Mari. But what you assume as knowledge? Good genes, good nutrition, it's really about each person's goals.
Mr. Giorgos, what is your current goal? Are you aiming to help as many people as possible?
Yes, that's it. My child, money is a side effect. That's how I've helped a lot of people.
Selflessly, but you want to see your name on the pig?
Okay, look, Ben Winter said it first, then Dan Solomon said it too. When I told him, he replied, he brought it to me. Work hard until you no longer need to say who you are. I've often seen people on the street carrying machines using a familiar term. This happens everywhere, even in America. On the street, a former patient used a machine and I didn't recognize him. Yes, so this drives your ambition and desire for recognition, similar to the unhealthy urge for more followers online. But I would like, when I leave this life, for people to say that more and more people are being helped, even on asteroids. But now this damn virtue that we didn't know before, we learned it and adopted it, and it has made us good people in the right way. I introduced a new change, and every innovation faces criticism, whether through my books or discussing the asteroid, for which they once called me eccentric. And now some people are copying me and saying the same things. I'm glad I woke them up, and though it may sound arrogant, became a role model.
Yes, you started it.
Well done.
You. Now, Mr. Giorgos, do you like that you will definitely go down in history, that you have made history?
Okay, look, others have also made history in their fields, athletes, doctors, and so on. I believe that I might have contributed a little bit. And maybe, if we think about it in a Christian way, this social work I do might redeem me for other mistakes I've made in the past.
Do you believe that you are humble?
Narcissus? Look at Narcissus. Everyone, to some extent, is narcissistic, and those who don't admit it, that's how it is, right? You can't admire everyone and not be egotistical. Well, I have been arrogant many times, and indeed, money often makes you arrogant. If I'm humble and optimistic, it's because my grandmother raised me in church and taught me principles through confession. That, in a way, was a break for me, so I wouldn't go completely overboard, so I wouldn't let it get to my head.
So, as you said, independently, I think most doctors and scientists
don't believe as much because they're rationalists, although there are some who do believe, but a rationalist means 1 + 1 = 2. Medicine is mainly based on experiment and evidence. He used to say religion is different. The miracle of faith is to have hope as a substance, meaning to believe in things you haven't seen and to hope for them. And of course, this has nothing to do with medicine. And with COVID, there was a big Something happened where some doctors were saying you can't go to communion, and others were saying it's a miracle. I consciously went to communion during the pandemic, and I didn't care. All those things they say about COVID spreading through the wine and all that, right? Anyway, I can say that I think both as a Christian and as a scientist, just like in bodybuilding, I felt both as a doctor and as an athlete. I was kind of divided, but these are deep experiences, and faith basically isn't about proof. Indeed, not many doctors believe. And this many times, you know, Saint Nectarius used to say that faith without science leads to delusion, but science without faith leads to arrogance.
Yes.
Does it get to your head? Yes? Or have you become a fanatic and, you know, just go ah-ooh with crosses in your hands and all that? Or the other extreme, where you are a complete nihilist? As many psychiatrists say, there's nothing after this and all that, then why do you use the word psyche in your science? Take out the soul and use another compound word. These are serious words.
That, yes, I do believe.
These pontibules are believers, patriots, and family men, which has been proven. Testosterone makes you more protective of your family if you have high testosterone. You understand? Those who don't like testosterone in America are the more left-wing, the liberals, while Trump supporters are more patriotic, but mainly they support the family. Testosterone makes you dominant to set your boundaries and protect your members.
Another thing I want to ask you is, why don't you want to stay abroad?
America is definitely the country that interests me, and out of all the places I've been, that's the only place I would stay. I fulfilled my dream of going to America. I've been there 8 times, mainly for bodybuilding. I went mostly for bodybuilding, not just for the Arnold Classic, but I went only for bodybuilding. I never went on vacation. They invite me to go and speak, but I pay for everything myself. No, that's not it. You do it for your resume and personal interest, like many medical conferences. They don't exist anymore. Of course, big companies cover them. But what about the special guest you mentioned? There are some people with the special guest badge who don't pay for the ticket. I don't mind. When I first went, a few people accompanied 2 Greek athletes, Kypros and the Greeks, who won that day. I went as their doctor to help. There. I spent all my savings to go to America and returned broke, but I said I made this trip, and I have. Now I'm in the spotlight. Why did I, the doctor with the winning athletes, interfere with their tests? Afterwards, the second one from some Americans. I was already working on the Moscow development and needed to meet my boss and project partner. I had some money set aside, but I remember that I went, and it cost me, even though I didn't have much. I had about 1/10 of my savings. That's what it cost me. Now I can go, I have the means, but I went only to follow my passion, which is called bodybuilding. To be seen where people greet me and there's a crowd. Medium closed after all print magazines shut down, but it left a legacy. I've met everyone, I've interviewed everyone on my show, or rather I've seen a lot of them at the gym too. In fact, at Gold Gym, someone greeted me and said, "Thank you for everything you've done, regular."
So, do you get more respect there?
Is there meaning? Maybe that ancient thing is gone. And indeed, you understand who you are when you leave Greece. There, you see a drop, and that's where your real potential shows, if someone can get to know you. And abroad, there are rules. The scale is different. It's not the chaos where we do whatever we want.
Their top bodybuilders approach you at Mr. Olympia. Let's say the top names over there.
I've talked. Someone asked me, but after I mentioned a fee, he never spoke to me again. Maybe he expected it from WhatsApp. He expected I would do it for free anyway. Maybe the first time was unpaid in any case.
Since it's a big name, he'd expect it for free.
He was a professional who had joined NIO Pro or something similar. Anyway. But I have donated my books to many acquaintances and Mr. Olympia. Also,
the coaches who give advice about drugs and claim to know everything, let's say that's not
illegal.
So, they don't take your job?
So, the experienced one is only until something goes wrong. As long as nothing goes wrong, nobody cares.
Then they'll come to...
But if something goes wrong for just a moment, do you know what they'll say? He was an adult. It was his own business that he went and listened to those things. So I don't always know if she's the victim because she's an adult. On the other hand, of course, if something bad happens, a bad name comes out, let's say for you, a bad reputation, and then no one wants to deal with you anymore. That you have a very aggressive behavior in using these. Like it happened with someone who had produced the biggest bodybuilder, but then they said that he had really messed people up.
Yes, but if I think about it now, if I wanted to take steroids and I came to you, wouldn't that be bad for your reputation?
Yes, because my role isn't to tell you how to monitor it, but to ensure you stay safe. Prevention, reducing risk, and taking medication aren't hard. They're everywhere, online, on every corner, even at the gym. How will you handle them and your tests? How will you endure and stay efficient? Even a Mercedes needs maintenance, or it will break down. Endurance matters. Turn passion into lasting effort, like an athlete, not a fleeting comet. But even when using medications, you have to make the right combinations, and where there are mistakes, you need to watch out.
I have a question. I've noticed that you have so much success, but I don't think you show off that much. I mean, don't you have the most expensive car?
All right, maybe I didn't want to get the most expensive one. Why? Well, I think it's a waste. When I could afford it, I bought a car for my family. Until I turned 50, I had a small car and didn't really need anything more.
Did you ever care about getting a Ferrari?
I don't have the means to buy it, but I'm telling you that spending all that money to buy a car is foolishness. What matters is being able to manage all these things. Also, I'm not a surgeon to charge more than 100 per visit or to earn that much. What about the envelopes and your fee? The envelope is for your benefit. Public sector workers do it too, but if you want one, you say, I won't operate otherwise. But with just 1,000 or so, the other person can't make ends meet. In a week, can you really get by? Yes, other specialties earn money. All right.
Did it pass for you?
Also, I had an expensive lifestyle, the concept of sorry. I used to eat for 10 people. I was taking supplements that others buy for 30 and still have leftovers. I remember I hadn't taken a vacation in years and had deprived myself.
With your body, have you lost weight now? Physically, have you lost kilos?
Be careful. Until the second round in NOCO, I was under 105, but I was at 100 for many years. Doesn't that help with your health? No, it doesn't help. In fact, small dogs live longer. And as you get older, you definitely need to lose fat, but, don't carry so much weight. It tires your heart and muscles.
So it's bad.
Look, it's because of the same reasons. I've never heard of anyone who reached 80 years old and weighed 120 kilos.
It doesn't help.
But listen to me. Until I was 21, I weighed 100 kilos, had similar recovery, and about 10% body fat. I got an offer from a photographer at Massive Development in Los Angeles. He said if I lost weight, since he saw my old photos and went to Los Angeles, he'd photograph me and even pay me. So for me, it was the challenge to get on the cover of Medium, which I did, and to do a 7-page feature inside, an insert. To lose at least 10 kilos, I lost them with
the shirt or nothing related to it?
Those over there have the coat, etc. I stuck to a strict diet for a year, losing a kilo each month to maintain muscle. I stuck to a strict training diet in a competitive way and reached a condition of about 7. Afterward, I promised to regain the weight and now stay at 90 kilos. Because not only do I like wearing my old clothes or having abs all year round, but also to be healthy and to be able to do my aerobics, my cycling, not to get tired and to say that I will never do it again, so I avoid such things.
Did you ever say I'd gain weight and reach 120?
No, I had reached 105 at my heaviest, and
you couldn't?
It was tough. You even get tired tying your shoes.
And you do your job too?
Yes, it's hard. The clothes are large, and it's not just about weight. Okay, I started getting lean after 95 and below, and at 90 I was really good. Now, of course, since the steroids and all that are gone, this amount of solids can't keep you like the amounts you used to take. You've shrunk a bit too, but what matters is to be fit like this, both in your lungs and your body, to have strength. All right? And to be able to look younger and be a better version of yourself.
Those are the ones I want you to mention. Since you deal with incidents every day, situations involving people who might even die, how does that make you sleep at night?
The previous Saturday, an officer had called who recklessly kept smoking bertosterone and increased his dose using a full ampule instead of half. I asked where he was hit. There was a commotion at the health center when his hematocrit reached 62 and hemoglobin 21. They told him he might die. I got upset and yelled from the car, asking why he wouldn't listen and if he was going to get in trouble. I asked him, what should they do? What is he doing? That's right. I told him you should live for yourself and your grandchild, not just because I say so. I was very upset because they make wrong choices and they're reckless. Other bodybuilders have also come to the clinic with terrible test results. I told him to ask the doctor to admit him and order the scan. So don't look at me, but be very careful or we'll give this group a bad reputation for committing suicide. I want to be here to support you, to help you do this. I'm the only doctor who negotiates healthy use, proper use. Probably no one else. Everyone else just pulls away. And many times that's not easy, at least. Follow some proper steps to pursue your passion more safely. So they don't just say, another one died. Not taking yourself seriously is bad. You don't have the right to be reckless when you want to play with the fire of drug stimulation. Go ahead, but everything else will be left out.
What's the most extreme thing you've heard?
I've done extreme things too, my child. I've taken 2 grams of tests for just 1 week, okay? And I've also taken, I don't know, half a gram. As you mentioned, was it with insulin?
That they say people do.
And with insulin. I remember I had heard about a kid who had done it. He did it at night and hypoglycemia hit him. He fell asleep at the wheel and firefighters had to rescue him. Thankfully, he survived.
He didn't die.
But I've heard of extreme things, mostly insulin and diuretics.
Have they died? People you talk to?
Not that, but I've heard of incidents. Okay, you know, diuretics can cause a stroke. Diuretics can also give you arrhythmia, but also hypovolemia. With anabolic steroids, your organs can be damaged, and using multiple drugs leaves you unsure of their effects.
Mr. Giorgos, I want you to tell me if you regret anything you've done in your life.
Okay, about bodybuilding?
About bodybuilding in general?
Look, I said in an interview 10 years ago if I have any regrets about the use of anabolic substances. And I mentioned it on television afterwards. Anabolic substances harmed my relationships. Health issues I faced were reversible, except for the life changes I made for recovery. However, these changes also offer anti-aging benefits. I sacrificed many things from my life: time, money, human connections. But that's the price, since you can't stand out in society and be the one and have it all. And through this, I wanted to make an offering and help people not to make mistakes. Through information, through knowledge.
So you don't regret it?
Then, did I regret it? I wouldn't take medicine again, nor would I do anything harsh from my side. But I would definitely do sports, though I would like to have my own testosterone. Not that it's bad to take it, but I've been on testosterone for 10 years. Every week I need my dose to recharge. It's not bad, nor it's harmful, but it's an obsession, or you could even call it a burden.
Did it cause you any trouble?
No, it's okay. Do I need to give blood? Is that common? You have to go give blood every 2 months. At least I do, because mine is more sensitive. My blood levels go up and down, up and down. Others aren't as sensitive. The hematocrit, let's say, was changed for everyone. It checks for anemia, metabolic issues, and fatigue. So, let me explain. If we go back in time, I might have done weight training, but not competitively. Given all this use, I wish I had kept my natural testosterone. Maybe now it would be 600 to 700, but I definitely wouldn't have built the body I once did.
Do you think that anabolic drugs in general could reach a point where they have no side effects or evolve at the DNA level?
No, that's classic. Paniesti is classic. It's just about how you use them. I mean, if you use them wisely, they could end up being more like an elixir of youth rather than an ergogenic aid.
If you interfere with myostatin, as we say,
Many people have messed with it. Can competitive bodybuilders over 130 kilos take myostatin inhibitors? Better? I mean, yes, but anabolic steroids have a direct effect on strength, speed, and give a hard look. We can't say that there will be bodybuilding without anabolic steroids because they are the foundation. But now they're outdated in the sense that they're not the only thing anymore. There are growth hormones, insulin, insulin-like growth factor, 1-mechanogrowth factor myostatin inhibitors. Okay, I mean, there are also more advanced growth factors. I mean, the anti-estrogens. It's just that the foundation is the steroids, but those only take you so far.
Has any new drug that has come out now impressed you? 25, 26, I don't know if that's happening now.
No, I'm more traditional.
Not SARMs, I mean.
Let me tell you about those SARMs. Everyone here has typical steroid side effects.
And that's why these came out.
Yes, listen to me though, it's a scam because everyone comes in with classic messed up test results. Lipids, liver, and axis, which ultimately means what? They must be adulterated anabolic pills.
So basically nothing.
They were made to avoid affecting androgenic receptors, but do the combined tricks still impact them? Okay, but have they actually gone through, how do you say it, like, have they gone through research? Okay, but it's not as harmless as they claim. Why not take something you know, something that works and you don't know your source? Basically, they're not approved products.
So only testosterone is released.
Is testosterone the safest steroid? It's the only one naturally produced by the body and considered body-friendly. You don't have the side effects of anabolic steroids that are synthetic, at least like that, and it doesn't affect you up to a certain amount. The lipids, not at all. The liver. Okay, while even small doses of steroids can harm your lipids, liver, homocysteine, and especially the endothelium over time.
Let's move on to another topic now. Right now, you are quite famous. How do you deal with all of this?
It's pleasant. It's nice to be recognized at the supermarket, on the street, at the airport, everywhere, and of course at the gyms as well. On the other hand, the price you pay is that you can't behave like someone who is unknown, to act however you want, to be rude or to be impolite or to look terrible on the street. Yes, you're supposed to maintain a certain status.
So you're not really yourself.
You can't just act casual. Since someone might recognize you, people have greeted me even when I'm with my family. Luckily, I was dressed properly and not casually, I say. Anyway.
When did this start? Let's say from 2022 onward.
Yes, but with social media, it happened more through connections I made and things I learned. Police stopped me and told me to get out. I got worried, thinking I'd done something wrong. Tell me a bit about our exams, and then they say to me, whatever you want, we're here. I had told Cattler, and he laughed. I had written it on WhatsApp like that, but it has a certain charm. But on the other hand,
how do you deal now with your negative comments?
This is something difficult that you have to accept, that exposure brings this thing as well.
But everyone gets negative comments.
No matter who brings them. Be careful. Someone writes about you who doesn't know you personally and without saying anything good about the other things you've done. They only write about something bad that they themselves think is bad. Or when I said that I'm doing a social service or others, that other fool went and misinterpreted it, saying that I think I'm doing a service. Since I don't include these things in my books, I wonder if something foolish will result. And how can I make it safer, right? They've misunderstood it, but you know what? Am I to blame? I say one thing. They understand another. I'm responsible for what I say, not for what they think they understand. And okay, the internet is chaotic, totally. You can't keep up with all the comments, you let it go, but basically I don't want to read them. Why do I get upset or sad? Because much of it isn't true. It's lies or malicious things rooted in others' issues. Just like that, without the other person. I've bothered him. Politicians also live in a transparent glass world. Huh? You have to train yourself and become thick-skinned, indifferent. Otherwise, you should just stay alone so that not even your own mother knows you. That's exactly what it is.
Nothing is ever negative.
Always know that. Writing is worse than the phone, and the phone is worse than face-to-face because in person everything gets resolved and it's a completely different kind of contact. Written messages can be misunderstood, and so can phone calls, because many times I'm stressed on the phone and I can't speak politely and calmly with everyone. I'm stressed with a lot happening.
Why do you think the anger comes out? Why are you angry?
I don't experience roid rage when I take 100 milligrams. Not all moments are equal. Who will speak for me? Too many are delinquent? I don't say that. I may have a character that is often not polite, other times I am polite, and there are many who have written about it. And I can behave properly both at the port and elsewhere. I mean, I can enter a bodybuilding competition and talk to people, but I can also go into my presidential office, he wrote. A lot of talk about my suit. Today I have to come from Sky. I did a show about andropause and know how to handle myself, but every moment is different, and sometimes I have 200 missed calls. Do I have to answer everything before I get home and rest? Or give my blood and rush to the next issue? How am I supposed to handle all this? Shouldn't you consider your own situation too? When I ask people to tell me quickly what they want, they think I'm being irritable. I was talking to Giorgos the other day in the summer during an interview, And because I was like that, it was summer, I don't know, maybe I had something else going on. And I was a bit more, I was speaking faster, I had coffee, I had worked out. They said, does this guy have roid rage or something? Just nonsense, silly talk. Okay. So, they can't understand.
The fun in just one day?
Yes. When you have to answer to everyone, look at your own life and interact with others. You can't always be calm. There are other times when I'm calm or when I see 70 messages on WhatsApp and Viber. I have to reply to each of them. Do you know what it means to think about each one? These aren't just, hi, how are you? Studying and exams are a big responsibility, and often I can't handle it. I've started skipping training to finish work, which I once thought was unthinkable. Not to miss training, and yet I've reached the point where I say 2 days in a row, I can't train. It's not just my work goals, I'm exhausted and out of energy. Do you understand? Is everyone speaking from outside?
Why not turn up the television since you have so much work?
I don't want to because I have limits. I never said I was getting a PhD. My sister did and she's getting money, but what about me? Am I getting any? A very small part of society and a very narrow subject. That's why there's a specialization. Okay, but on the other hand, I don't want to close churches. I don't want to hear exaggerated things, okay? And I don't like certain things. Exploiting people. Clinics charging too much. But I don't want that. I mean, I respect my work, but I also respect the average Greek who can't afford it.
What kept you from getting into, let's say, illegal activities?
Illegal activities, selling, me, first of all. Okay, I had a moral side, or definitely a lot. The space. So I do it, I could, but maybe I didn't really need it financially. And on the other hand, I had some specific moral reservations to do it. And for a doctor to do it, it's not really acceptable. A similar thing happened in medical school during the skull trade.
A trade in skulls?
You sell skulls to study through the holes and take exams. Each skull was $300. Yes, professors took from dead people for money, right? Was it $300? They were in bad condition. My grandmother, who raised me, was there and said, Giorgos, you must return the money and the skulls or it will haunt you. And that's exactly what I did. I really did feel guilty, so I went and gave back both the money and the skulls, and I said, take it, I don't want any more of this. But others did it. So I want to tell you that I had some moral boundaries and reservations. The same thing happened while I was modeling. When I had done a job, I had worked with an American, a 2-meter tall guy named Colorno, who explained things to me. He said, you must be gay, not bi, to get this job. So I didn't go ahead. How could I? Others did. Of course, I didn't have the stature, but I can tell you that in my youth, I was one of the best. So because I had the moves, I worked at some of the more expensive clubs in Athens. As a go-go boy and dancer like Balasas did, earning 20,000 drachmas in 20 minutes. I also appeared in fashion magazines and was considered one of the most handsome young men at the time while working with an agency. But I didn't go further with that because I didn't want to, because Christianity holds you back from that. But you should know that I was a Christian, and that's what holds you back. And from suicide, because during my depression, I didn't want to live. After stopping steroids, you feel like dying, break up with girlfriends, and lose your sense of self and purpose. I believed suicide causes you to lose your soul. So that was the first thing. And the other was that I didn't go to that filthy place. You know? With the same gender, why is that two? How do you call it? With P.
Does that exist in modeling?
What do you mean? Would you? I'm sorry. Bodybuilders abroad make these kinds of compromises to earn money for their preparation. Does that happen? Don't think otherwise. Male prostitutes do exist abroad, of course. That's right. We knew about the guy who had sex with an orange. I've met him in America. He was also a stripper and made a lot of money. And how are you going to afford growth hormone when it costs $1,000 a month? And your food, plus the steroids and everything else? Anyway, these are things you're forced to do because your expenses are huge, and let's be honest, you don't come from wealthy families. When you have a bank backing you, You don't have a sponsor who believes in you. Some lucky people had supportive families who believed in and helped them.
So, I want you to give me a general opinion now. How do you see bodybuilding in Greece compared to abroad? Is there any growth?
Look, bodybuilding has always been mostly amateur, at least when it comes to the rewards. In terms of level, it was very good, and there were distinctions for Greek bodybuilders in international competitions in all federations. Okay, and we have produced some remarkable bodybuilders who became professionals and others who deserve to become professionals. They weren't professionals, but won world titles in other federations. But there is huge competition and the expenses are very high. But even in Greece, things are tougher and more scarce. Even the supplements are not the same as those available in America, and the knowledge is also not the same as what they have in America. The same goes for access to advanced medications that may not be available there. Yes, but Greece still had many talents.
You see now, talents now, at this moment?
And now. And others who have already stopped and could have become professionals. But now as we speak, I believe the circumstances are the same. There are 3 names among the Tavor Lakes in Olympakis. So, Pantelis has come very close to the card, meaning he's second now and the first one gets it. And I believe it's almost a matter of detail, and it also depends on what opponents you have, but it's not just about getting the card. To swim later, not just with the animals, but financially too. Do you know how much preparation and travel cost? So, all these things are great, but above all, you need to set something aside to live on. No, I earn money to go there since you can't really make much from competitions. Now, only the first one, who is the phenomenon, has resources and connections, matters, since politics is important. Okay, yes, because there's a lot of injustice, so you also have to stand your ground. And mainly they stand out because of the coaching they get, okay, or some sponsor who covers some of their expenses. But you have to think that later you need to have some money to invest and so on, to do something, and also to have your health. Yes, to pay the doctor, to get checkups, other costs from there.
Have you ever worked with someone or
with a team? I have worked with Greeks. Yes, I'm proud to say that. Look, I have help now. I also recalled Yannis Alibertis during a match, since he came from here and I had helped him, believing in him as a scout. He had the wow factor and was impressively built. While he lacked perfect back definition, his shoulders and arms created a great V shape. A very nice V. He had improved his legs, so after my encouragement, he's now set to compete at the Masters, and we've got it. Good luck. I've known Yannis for 23 years since I competed at 35 and 09 when he won Mr. Aegean. At a Stadium of Peace and Friendship competition back then, a shredded guy from Crete, Extistakis, had the perfect fitness physique, but it worked against him. In 16, there were 5 judges. I wrote about Fisto Yannis and later posted the 3-2 result on the page, but I believe he deserved to win overall. Yes, we had some dealings back then, a communicative collaboration over the phone, and we exchanged thoughts. And what I'm proud of is that we sent 2 athletes to America and both of them won. And Kollegionis, who is also a multiple winner abroad and is the president as well. Thank you very much, and Kyriakos, who was an incredible talent. Have you also worked with Farah and Dennett James Farah? Yes, I have spoken to both of them. And this year, he actually had 2 victories himself. The first was at the Upper Classic in 2016 in the under 100 kilos category. Just like there, Kollegionis had won the Supermasters and was the champion of the event. With me in America, where I really got toughened up, and then I went back again with my own savings.
So, Mr. Giorgos, let's go to the last message. We've been here for 2 hours. Is there a message you want to share with the world, with athletes, with champions, with your patients?
Listen, athletes, bodybuilding is my background, and I owe it all to that. My writing and medical career were built on bodybuilding, which later evolved into research, of course. But people need to know that this is temporary. Competitive bodybuilding doesn't last forever, unlike a lifestyle. Because the body wears out, and no matter what you take, even at 50, you can't make loose skin look tight, and that's obvious. Then your joints deteriorate and your legs shrink. People need to understand that this is probably the most beautiful sport. You shouldn't call it something mediocre, it's actually the highest sport. When it comes to nutrition, if you include supplements, food and exercise, it gives you health, of course, and longevity. We need to understand that bodybuilding has an expiration date, the body wears out, and we should aim for longevity. Rapid muscle gain is unhealthy and should be avoided. The important factor is always the duration. Okay? Being able to do this again and again and again means there shouldn't be any damage, and you should monitor your organs with tests.
Very nice message, Mr. Giorgos. Now let's move on to the second part. The audience has asked us some questions, and if you don't want to answer, do you smell anything here?
What am I doing?
Do you smell the olive oil?
What is this, man?
It's for when you don't want to answer a question.
I'll tell you the next ones.
All right, let's go. How does he feel and how does he handle the criticism you give him? Did we say that?
Yes, it's something difficult. I try to avoid it, but I accept it because the price of being recognized is exposure.
Who does he think is the greatest Greek from Piltra ever, and why?
By far? Kefalianos has done 48-50 competitions. He's been to the Olympia 3 times. He's been to the Arnold Classic. I think 2 or 3 times he's made the top 9 at the Arnold Classic. He's made the top 7 at the New York Pro. He's made the top 7 at the European Arnold Classic. He's come 2nd at FIBO and he's come 3rd at the Australian Pro. Maybe his physique didn't help him that much, but he succeeded. Hard work pays off, and everyone still talks about him and remembers him for the conditioning he brought. Especially his rear double biceps was a masterpiece.
Can you tell us something about gynecomastia? What do you mean?
Gynecomastia is common but can become severe due to the cycle, especially during hormonal recovery.
I heard they secrete fluids.
Yes, that occurs with prolactinemia, but we must differentiate lipomastia, fat-caused chest sagging, from hormonal gynecomastia, where the gland protrudes as a painful lump. In that case, we can do tests for estriol and prolactin to see if those are affected when you're on medication. So when you are natural, we need to check both prolactin and testosterone, because low testosterone with high estrogen creates this kind of problem. And also, gynecomastia is often treated with aromatase inhibitors or SERMs. If your estradiol isn't elevated, you should take tamoxifen to block the receptor and avoid the symptoms. Otherwise, if you have high estradiol, you need to take an aromatase inhibitor. Ultimately, it depends on how you feel.
It's true that there are many patients who work at night.
I have people, police officers, I have people who are night guards, who are bodyguards. And unfortunately, if you don't get into the esoteronia, your esoteronia drops when you stay up all night. I'm a bartender, also bar owners, you get what I mean? Cooks who can't go to sleep before midnight.
It says he frequently got into fights at gyms.
Yes, that happened. I'm not proud of it. I've been kicked out of several gyms. Want to know why? I went there to work out seriously. I wasn't going there to socialize.
Do they have too many rules?
Yes, and they don't want bodybuilders because you're not their ideal customer. You may look like a statue, but many conservatives find your appearance intimidating and provocative. So I used to go, shout at McGacey, and leave my efforts behind. And since he's a businessman, he doesn't like that. So he wants people who are quiet and don't cause any trouble so he can keep his income. Why? So I was troublesome when it came to discipline, and also because I was stubborn and proud. At the first remark, I would say I want to leave. I don't want to stay and be forced to do the training you want. Even the tank tops were bothering them, even though we had nice bodies, you know. They'd say, this is a fitness club, put on the t-shirt. I want to show off and see my reflection in the mirror to check how I look and boost my motivation. What do you want? The guys with the bellies? Out. Anyway, and I didn't want to continue in an environment that was oppressing me, but I too many times acted like a jerk. And I have to admit that. But I remember the late Makis Markopoulos, who owned the gym at International. Vatapediou Street is now closed because he's gone. I found someone to help with my training who loved me and put me on the board. There, with Papadopoulos, Grivas, Drivanis, and the other athletes, I had my best training ever. It was my last one, and Makis was filming me, but he never commented on my workout. He was open-minded and easygoing, always saying the customer is always right and vital to the business.
That changed a lot.
Gyms are fitness clubs now. You know, and those old iron gyms, are they disappearing? No, you don't see them anymore. They just don't exist now. Some kids on social media, especially Instagram, post photos but never compete. When you ask, maybe 80% aren't interested in preparing for competitions. They just want to be flashy, like the groom or Mr. Bermuda, as I call them.
Why did he have a fight with Bournazolis?
There was a misunderstanding on the website about a non-bodybuilding issue related to COVID. I thought, okay, I got a red card back then, but it was for a medical issue. I had spoken in favor of vaccines, and I had said that even my specific bodybuilder had been vaccinated. Anyway, and I was hoping that I would return to the website I left in the end. I've left a lot of material there and don't have time to return, though I got an offer and might do a live. With Spiros, there was never an issue. I sent him wishes last year and he replied politely. He has my phone number. Spiros was ill and still came here. I spoke to him for 4 hours. We've trained together at a friend's house and his gym, and everything is fine. I've shopped at his store too without any issues.
Someone is asking where you can get anabolic steroids with trust, for safety.
Are you sure? Not from the internet? Like that? There are no more anabolic steroids. There were 10 2 years ago. Huh? You take testosterone and just hope the rest are genuine here.
He asks which supplements you recommend for Nacho Lascumenos.
Whatever is available. The 5 basic ones are vitamins, creatine, branched chain amino acids, vitamin creatine, beta-alanine, beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate, and also hormone boosters. All right.
So nitrates then, at Corpus Gym in Polygyros.
Yes.
Did we see him throughout December 2000?
Yes, I remember that it was a little after 2000 around that time. I also did a training session after my last match, which was in November 2013.
Does he like the southern suburbs, or does he prefer the quiet of the northern suburbs?
The north and south, I wouldn't change them. In summer, it feels like California there.
A few words about Simos Paplat.
Simos is my first mentor, a friend I still meet when I go to Agostoli. He was a self-taught guru.
How old is he, huh?
I think he's between 55 and 60 under 60. He was born in 67, so he's 58.
Was he your first mentor?
California, the mentor, the one who first taught me, yes. He had read Tandon Ching and Bill Vellen's Body Opus, and Bill's Survive too. Or they were foreign books and foreign magazines. And he was the one who gave me my first knowledge, okay, and things that I know today.
How many gyms have you switched?
I've been to more than 20. I've tried almost all of them in Athens to train. That's how I've trained. It doesn't mean I had memberships at all of them, and in foreign countries too. I've trained in America, England, Italy, Germany, Hungary, and Cyprus, but I don't remember training there.
What about you in general, with the machines you've seen?
Did Panata take care of me? Did he take me to his house? Panata, what are you saying now? Yeah, man, he even covered my expenses to go and then to Dubai.
Lamborghini of machines?
Yeah, he even had a Lamborghini in Carastio. So he had 50 machines for each and every team, like 50 different moves, I mean, in a 500 square meter space, all red. He was showing off. So I believe that after a certain age, if you have that variety of equipment, you can work out safely and get an amazing pump. Just like in MA.
Did Coleman use that equipment to lift?
Yes, Panata sent him everything to America by container. But when I went to the Mecca of the East, to Burr Francis, to Steve Weinberger, the gym had a lot of machines. You can play with them anywhere, like a child in a playground. Okay, I know bricks, dumbbells, bars, and iron rods are the basics. Do you know how well these work? You get a pump without pain or fear of straining yourself, especially as you get older. I prefer the press more than Scott, Hack, or Smith. You get it? Touliatos bought some Panata machines, and I just saw Panata's son in Vegas. He said they switched from their old distributor Dreamer to a new one in Greece. That's why Panata called me, to find him a supplier and distributor in Greece and use my contacts to suggest interested people. Plus, I brought him people who are now working for him through my name.
Work? From what age is it needed? Searching or testing for an active person?
Huh? Definitely. At 40, it starts to decline. I've also seen men in their 30s burned out from their lifestyle.
Anyone in their 50s still got it.
Yes, I've seen men in their 60s, like 69 with 900 tests. For example, this man worked out, was fit, upright, had no belly, great libido, sharp eyesight, and was a shining example of a man from another era.
This guy is a god.
Yeah, amazing. Honestly. He does.
Did he used to have 1,500?
Maybe. 50 or 100 years ago, someone had 1,500 to 500. Now they have about 100 to 600.
That's true. You're not just saying it.
How is it not true? And there are so many links here that people send me. I'm being proven right that in the last 50 years, there's been a declining trend.
What is it from? The diet, let's say, more than from life itself?
Yes, poor diet, late nights, drugs, psychiatric meds, alcohol, inactivity, and obesity, all of these.
No matter what, it'll keep dropping.
With how we live. When we have something like poti day and night and work,
No matter how strong they are to bring it down,
it will pass. Excessive exercise is harmful, but less so without an anabolic environment.
and a lot, yes.
If you don't sleep, eat, exercise, or maintain weight properly. And you drink and snort and get high on psychiatric meds, come on, that's it, you become a wreck.
If he couldn't pursue his current sport, would he consider bodybuilding instead?
Track and field, that's where he started. Now, of course, I also do mountain biking, running. After my surgery, I avoid doing it for my back and knee, but I also ran 10-kilometer races in the Athens circuit several times.
Arnold's training theory and Mike Menzel's training.
So recently, I also made a story where I said, of course, the supporters of heavy duty will say, the other guy won 7 Olympias, but did he win them due to fame and favoritism? Did Menzel really deserve the Olympia titles in 1979 and 1980? Menzel's 1980 physique had a unique density. Menzel, he used to tell you that you could do the work with less, but why? Why does bodybuilding go with sprinting? It's short, it's powerful. You're not the marathon runner who would do really nice workouts like Schwarzenegger did, double sessions and all that. He had a good body, but some say after a point it's counterproductive. A lot of cortisol is released.
Dorian used to say that.
After 45 minutes, my pump disappears, possibly due to glycogen and cortisol release, but sorry, Dorian, no. This is the 38th example of heavy duty, where his teacher was Neo Menzer, who used to say, I did half of Flex Wheeler's workout and I came out better. I follow Menzer's program. What do you mean? Yes, I reach failure, but I don't do just a lot of sets. I go to failure, then I move on to another, then I go to another movement. Brand Solfit, who is perhaps the greatest expert in exercise physiology, says that you don't need to go to failure on every set. I ask this in America. You don't need to reach failure on every set, as it also tires the nervous system. You can go up to 80%. Jay Cutler also said to leave 2 reps in the tank. Personally, I've reached failure and enjoyed giving my all until I couldn't do another rep.
So Menzer?
Be careful, Menzer, but note that the higher training volume with Wagenecker is a variation.
You can't get injured either. You can't get injured by whom? With Arnold's? With Menzer's? Do you get injured? With whom?
Sure, it really does exhaust the nervous system and you can get wiped out, but some people say that with just 1 set, you don't get the proper stimulus. Misses should train so well that a 2nd or 3rd set isn't needed. I get bored repeating the same sets. After warming up, I want to give my best effort and then switch activities. I prefer intense workouts with varied exercises.
Yeah, guys. And I also remember what happened with Menzer and Arnold.
When they got into a fight at the Grande, yeah, but Arnold was telling him some nonsense about abs in front of something. He was telling him...
But Arnold was selling more. Sorry.
They say he was Joe Vinter's lover. They also promoted him for his last movie, for Conan. Okay? And he was the one who was selling. He was the embodiment of the American dream. Menzer was subversive in everything Vinter had said up to that point. They placed him 5th at his last Olympia and he retired. He probably withdrew. But you should know that once Lafroni asked Joe Winter, why shouldn't I win since I'm really good, Torian? He says, it's not that you're not better. Doctor means that he opens up the European market for us. If they give it to you, will you just be another Greek American?
Is everything okay?
So then there's also Arnold. Yes, it's bodybuilding. He developed it. He brought bodybuilding mainstream in movies and all that, but that doesn't mean others haven't already gone too. Lou Ferrigno, for example, stopped at 25 when he weighed 125 kilos. He may have started over and became an actor, but it also affected him mentally. Schwarzenegger was more ripped, but the other guy was bigger and could catch up in 2 years. You want me to tell you? There's a lot at play, but Schwarzenegger had the best chest and biceps, let's say, in history, you know? But he also had flaws. Right here.
He says, what's his view on today's influencer guides?
Look, now with the internet, you can pretty much be whatever you claim to be, you know? But being a guru means that, look, you've tested yourself, you can communicate well, and you have results. Have you brought someone down? It doesn't mean that a good athlete will also become a good coach, and the opposite is also true. Ioannidis and Mourinho were average players but became top coaches. Or the opposite. Maradona could have become the best coach. Cruyff was a great coach, but that's not always the case. You also need to know how to share your knowledge. But now, an influencer is someone who must deliver results and persuade not just one, but multiple athletes. Do you understand? Today, with social media, anyone can create and display a fake image.
Thank you, Mr. Giorgos. How are you? So, that was it. To contact Mr. Giorgos, use INST.
All right, do you know me?
Yes. That's it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.